The Fire That Saved a Man, the true story behind Robinson Crusoe. What if the worst disaster of your life, the moment everything you built went up in flames, was actually the reason you survived? In the age of wooden ships and global empires, long before the United States existed, the Pacific Ocean was a vast, merciless frontier. Sailors vanished without records, ships disappeared without wreckage, and men were swallowed by the sea without a trace. Survival was not guaranteed. Rescue was almost impossible. Yet, in 1704, one man lived through the unthinkable and was saved not despite disaster, but because of it. His name was Alexander Selkirk, and his story is one of the most astonishing survival stories in real history. A Sailor Left Behind. Alexander Selkirk was a Scottish sailor serving aboard the English privateer ship Cinque Ports during the War of the Spanish Succession. Privateers were legally sanctioned pirates hired by governments to raid enemy ships. Life at sea was brutal. Disease, starvation, storms, and violence were constant companions. In September 1704, the Cinque Ports anchored near a remote island in the South Pacific, Mas a Tierra, now part of Chile's Juan Fernandez Islands. Selkirk believed the ship was dangerously unseaworthy. Its hull was riddled with worms, its supplies depleted, and its command incompetent. He argued fiercely with the captain and made a dramatic decision. He demanded to be put ashore. At the time, Selkirk believed another ship would arrive soon. The island had fresh water, food, and shelter. Surely this was safer than staying aboard a sinking vessel. The captain agreed and left him there. The Cinque Ports sailed away. Selkirk never saw it again. The ship later sank off the coast of Colombia, killing most of its crew. What Selkirk didn't know was that he had just traded one death sentence for another. Alone at the end of the world. Selkirk was now completely alone, more than 400 miles from the nearest human settlement. He had a musket with limited ammunition, a knife, some clothing, a Bible, and a few tools. That was it. The island was uninhabited, no villages, no ships, no help. At first, Selkirk did what countless castaways have done throughout history. He waited. Every day he climbed high ground and scanned the horizon. Every sail-shaped cloud raised his hopes. Every sunset crushed them. Weeks turned into months, months into years. No ship came. Survival by ingenuity. Eventually, Selkirk understood the truth. No one was coming for him, unless he could make them notice. He built small shelters from wood and grass. Later, he constructed stronger huts from tree trunks. He survived on goats, descended from animals left by earlier sailors, fish, wild turnips, and calm palms. Over time, he adapted in remarkable ways. He learned to run barefoot faster than goats to catch them after his ammunition ran out. He tamed feral cats to protect himself from rats at night. He used fire constantly, not just for cooking, but as a lifeline. Fire meant warmth, fire meant food, and most importantly, fire meant smoke. One day, after years alone on the island, Selkirk left his camp to gather food. When he returned, disaster struck. His shelter was engulfed in flames. A cooking fire had spread. Everything he owned, his tools, his clothes, the fragile life he had built over 4 long years, was reduced to ash. Thick black smoke rose into the sky. Selkirk was devastated. According to later accounts, he collapsed in despair. This was the last thing he had, the final proof that God, or fate, had abandoned him. But that smoke did something else. It climbed high above the tree line, it drifted across the open sea, and someone saw it. The smoke signal that changed history. On February 2, 1709, 2 English privateer ships, Duke and Duchess, approached the Juan Fernandez Islands. From the deck, sailors noticed something strange: smoke, on an island believed to be uninhabited. They altered course. When they landed, they found a wild-looking man dressed in animal skins, speaking English but barely recognizable as human.
He had been alone for 4 years and 4 months. That man was Alexander Selkirk. The fire that destroyed his home became the signal that saved his life. From castaway to legend. Selkirk returned to England a minor celebrity. His story spread quickly through taverns, newspapers, and coffee houses. A few years later, writer Daniel Defoe would publish a novel inspired by Selkirk's ordeal. Its title was Robinson Crusoe. The book became one of the most influential adventure stories in history and one of the foundations of modern survival literature, deeply embedded in American culture. Why this story still matters. To modern readers, especially in the United States, a nation built on exploration, risk, and reinvention, Selkirk's story carries a powerful lesson. Disaster is not always the end. Loss can be a signal. What looks like destruction may be the beginning of rescue. The smoke that rose from a ruined shelter was not a curse. It was a call answered across the ocean. And that is not a parable. That is real history.